Hello and welcome to the Neurodivergent Show. My name is Imo Folami. This is the Neurodivergent Show where we discuss all things ADHD, autism, OCD, dyslexia, and more. And you know what? This month we are celebrating. Can you guess? Can you guess what? It is our Autism Awareness Month. So if you know somebody that knows somebody that is autistic, or you know a family member, a friend that is autistic, we're celebrating them this month. So happy Autism Awareness Month to all our autistics, family of autistics, and the neurodivergent community. So what are we discussing today? Today I bring before you a topic that many people have asked me over and over and over again. That is the cure for autism. What usually would happen is, you see, many parents, they start noticing some signs early. Signs like their kids working on tippy toes, signs like their kids being extremely picky with their food, signs like their kids not talking, not being able to communicate his or her needs. They start noticing signs like, their kids flapping hands, extra hyper, the kids not sleeping well, the kids having tantrums, what is better known as meltdowns. And so all these things seem weird. And so they start asking. And when they sense that their kid may likely be autistic, the first question that comes to mind is, what is the cure? Is my kid ever going to recover from this? And so many times, like I did, because I also have neurodivergent twins, we go down the rabbit hole, chasing after answers, rightfully so, though, because we need these answers. I remember spending nights researching, checking, to see if there is a cure for autism, and I'd search and search and search. So today, I am going to answer that question. I am not even going to beat about the bush. I'm just going to answer the question. At this time, at this moment, there is no cure for autism. But wait, wait, there's more. There's more, okay? There is no cure for autism, but there is more. And what do I mean by that? We'll get into all of that in a little bit, but I wanna walk you through what it may seem that some people may have suggested that there is a cure for autism. I'm going to show you something real quick on the screen. I want you to look at this. Oh, it's not showing. Okay, can you see it now? I think you can. Now, what you see on this screen is a woman with a mask on. Why many people think autism can be cured? The first reason is because autistic traits can be masked. I'm going to tell you a story of a colleague I used to know a long time ago. You see, this colleague, she just seemed weird in that no one understood her. She was she didn't understand social cues. Like, she could just badge into you or walk into you. She was very blunt. Like, she just said what she wanted. She would just say whatever she wants to say at that time, not caring what people feel. She had a way she walked. She had, like, she would when she walked, it looked like there was a bend, there was like a limp to her work. And then, she just had all these things. And many of our colleagues, we couldn't just understand her. Like, there was just something about her. We couldn't place our hands around this. And many people would quarrel with her, and they would just disagree with her. And it went on like that for months. And, so when I started doing the show, she reached out to me. And then when we started talking, she broke down in tears. And she's like, I am autistic. I didn't even know I was autistic up until a couple years ago, when it was very obvious. And so she started talking about something called a mask. What is a mask? A mask is a facade, something like you see in the picture displayed there, that people used to be who we need them to be. You see, what usually would happen is kids are born, they're innocent, of course, and so they're showing some autistic traits. Like I mentioned earlier, they're walking on tippy toes. They're flapping their hands when excited. They have all these things they are doing, but they just notice that people are like, "Don't do that, don't do that." That's parents are like, "Don't do that, don't do that." And so they start noticing like, "Oh, it looks like there is something different about me. Why is everyone saying that I'm weird?" And they go to school and they realize they're not like their typical peers. And so they're like, from an early age, it registers for some autistics that, oh, there's something going on with me. They're not able to place their hands around it yet, but everyone just knows that there's something. So, you know what many people start doing? They start masking. How? They start studying people. They start studying their siblings and like, oh, this is how they do. Okay, this is okay. We don't flap our hands in public. Okay, we don't do this. We don't walk on tippy toe. We don't. So they start learning all those things. They go to class. They see how students behave, how you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to walk, how you're supposed to talk. And so they start learning and they start trying to be like their peers, trying to be like their siblings. And so it starts from there, and then they grow up doing that. The autistic masking. Autism is a broad spectrum. For some people, it's just, regular things. They're able to go by their everyday life. But for some people, it's not like that. It's a whole thing. They're not able to cope at work. They're not able to cope in school. And their traits, it's very obvious. It's very glaring. Like you can see them and say this person is autistic. So at a very early age, they just try. They don't want to be different. They don't want people to see them as weird. They just try to change and be like others. And you know what? So when they grow up and they eventually get a diagnosis or they confirm that, oh, so what was going on with me all through my life is like I'm autistic. People see them and say, no, you're not autistic. What? I grew up with you. What do you mean you're autistic? You don't behave like an autistic. What that person has been doing is the person has been masking all their lives. So it's easy to think for people or for parents to think, oh, my child, they used to say, oh, someone used to say my kid was autistic, but no, my kid's cured. Your kid's not cured. Many times your kid probably started masking, learned how to mask until the kid grew up and just became a part of the life, masking. And I'm going to talk more about masking and some of the things we can do, but today's show is supposed to be very brief. I'm just going to run through another reason why many people think autism can be cured. And the second reason would be, let's take this out. The second reason would be because kids tend to outgrow many autistic traits. So what would happen is you give birth to a kid, the kid is nonverbal at first, and then we're working on it. The kid starts speaking or the kid start learning how to socialize and stuff like that. And we're like, oh my God, the kid is cured. But what we don't know is like the kid has outgrown certain things. The kid has learned some certain things, and not just a kid. That's how kids are generally. They'll outgrow certain things. They will learn. They'll grow. And just because your kid has outgrown certain things does not mean your kid has been cured. Because the autism, your kid is still autistic. The autistic traits may have changed or will change from time to time, but your kid is still autistic. What would happen is your kid would start manifesting other autistic traits. So parents are like, don't worry, my kid is now cured. Your kid cannot speak. Don't bother about it. Don't worry. You know what? Eventually your kid will speak. Don't let them diagnose your kid. Don't. Why? Because, my own kid, they used to think my kid was autistic, but it turns out my kid is not autistic because my kid can now talk. My kid can now do all these things he could not do. I tell you, if you've given birth to an autistic kid, your kid is continually going to be autistic until the kid grows up and grows old. Because autistic traits will change, but autism is not going to change. That's still, an autistic kid is still going to grow up to be an autistic adult. The only difference is that the traits will change. Now, briefly, let's talk about, let me put it on the screen so that you can see real quick. Let's talk about, so now that we're here, you're wondering as a parent, okay, Imo, I've listened to you. I know you've said all these things. Autism cannot be cured. So, and I'm trying to understand that this is my fate. This is, this is the life I'm going to lead. So what then can I do? Okay, I think that's the first one. That's the second one. Let's go to the first one. The first one is, if autism cannot be cured, then autism can be loved. This is one of the reasons I started this show, guys. I'm telling you, if we begin to love and understand autism, I'm telling you what a beautiful life it would be for you being the parent, for the whole community as a whole. Autism can be loved. You see, many people, in our search for answers or just a search for something just to make us happy or just make us, not worry, we just imbibe these things like, oh, autism is a phase, or they call it a phase. No, autism is a neurological condition. Okay? It means it's the way one's brain's wired. It's the way a kid's brain's wired. And so many times that's something we do not get. That's something many parents do not get. And that is why I keep emphasizing on the fact that there's certain disciplines, or there's certain things you do. There's certain ways you can discipline a neurotypical kid. But when you want to discipline a neurodivergent, an autistic kid in that same way, it's not a fair treatment. Why? Because you have to understand that the way an autistic's brain's wired is different, is very, very different. And that is why you see some autistic kids, they're, neurotypical kids, we know by 3, they're talking. We know that by 4, they're putting phrases, sentences together. We know that they're doing this, the typical way. But what we find out for the autistic kid is that's not what's happening. In fact, what we've found out is just because of how different their brain's wired, neurodivergent kids would excel in certain ways. So you can have a neurodivergent kid that is 4 and doing mathematics, a 4th, 5th grade mathematics on the spot. You can even have them computing things in their head. You can have them, reading very early. Some started reading at age 2. My kids started reading at age 2, 3. You can have them doing all these wonderful things. But on the other hand, there's certain things they are not able to do, right? Because some of them then are not able to use cutleries. Some of them are not able to, put on their shoes. Some of them are not able to communicate, little things that they should do. Why? Just because of how their brain's wired. And if you can come to understand that, come to love that, I'm telling you, as a parent of a neurodivergent kid, an autistic kid, it's one of the best things that can happen for you. I'm a strong advocate of love your kid. Understand your kid. Just understand, try to research, try to know why your kid does what it does. Understand what's going on behind the kid's brain. And if you do, there will be a lot of love. There will be a lot of understanding. The frustration will be reduced and everyone will be happy. Now, I think the second one, I already talked about it when I had mentioned, let's take this one out. Autism can be understood. If autism cannot be cured, then autism can be understood. Autism should be understood. If as a parent of an autistic kid, you just understand why your kid does certain things, I'm telling you the kind of relationship you can build with that kid, the kind of love that can come from your heart just from understanding is second to none. And the kind of way you would treat that kid would come with understanding. Then you know that if I'm raising a neurodivergent kid and the neurodivergent kid has a neurotypical brother, I'm going to raise them differently. And you're doing that from understanding. When you do that from understanding and you do that from love, there is less frustration. There is little frustration in the home because why? We're working from a place of understanding and a place of love. Now, let me run through this real quick. The third one is, okay, let's take this one out. Oh, come on. Oh, jump in the us now. Okay, autistic should be validated. Now, earlier on, I'd mentioned something about autism masking and all this kind of things. And you know why people mask? It's because as a society, autistics cannot be themselves. Oh my God, please, can we normalize stimming? Can we normalize autistics just being themselves? When I'm excited, right, as an individual, I'm happy. I laugh. I'm excited. I probably scream. It depends on what's happening, right? And everyone looks at me like, oh, she's excited. That's cool. Okay. Everyone's happy, no problem. But when an autistic kid is excited and the kid is like this, oh my God, oh my God. People are like, oh, what's that? What's that? And so the autistic kid, now that the kid is like intelligent and, aware of his or her surrounding, they're like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. Can we just normalize people being themselves? Can we be less judgmental as a society? Can we just give people freedom to just live and let live and people just be happy just being themselves? Because what I say is, if a kid is in the park and the kid is steaming, running in circles, the kid is not hurting you. They're not hurting you. So why can't we just let them be? Why can't we just let autistics? Why can't we let them be? I mean, the positive behavior that is not hurting anybody. Why can't we just, society, we have a way everything must be. In school, there's a way we must learn. In church, there's a way we must behave. There's everything, there is a way. And you know what? Many of these rules, neurotypicals made them for neurotypicals. We did not think of the exceptions when we were making them. When we were making these rules, we weren't thinking of kids that are autistic. We weren't thinking of kids that have ADHD. We were just thinking about the norm. But there is more than the norm. There is a whole different world out there. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, I walked into a church the other day, and I said, just walking into the church and just studying the kids for a little bit, I could tell that half of the kids in that, okay, let me not exaggerate, but I could tell like a good percentage of the kids in that church are neurodivergent. Just from the way they were doing, the way they were acting, the way they are neurodivergent. And as a society, I don't think we understand this neurodivergence thing. We don't understand it, as we don't. I keep saying that we will, because we're having more and more. CDC just came out the other day and said 1 in 36 kids in the US, one of them, if you have 36 kids, one will be autistic. And I'm like, I understand that is what we have now, but I don't think that is correct, because there are so many people that are still undiagnosed. Right? There's so many people that will never get diagnosed. There's so many adults that are undiagnosed. There's so many things. So that data, I left to me, I know it's not correct, because I know many people that are around me that have autistic kids that don't even know they're autistic. They will never get diagnosis. You have all those things, right? So what are we saying? Back to my point. My point is, let's validate, let's normalize people just being themselves. Let's just be happy for people. Let's people live. Let them breathe. Let them be themselves, especially if it's not hurting you. It's one thing if they're hurting themselves or they are not hurting you, or they are hurting you. But if they are not, let them just be themselves. Let them just live. Let them just be happy. Let people just be happy. I know it's weird. Many times I'm like, I don't understand it, but okay. And even if we don't understand it, let's just let it be okay, guys. All right, let's run through the fourth one. I just wanted to spend about 20-25 minutes talking to you all today. The last one is, autistics should be provided every available resource. If at this time, and I'm going to speak a little bit more on autism and being cured and everything, but if autism cannot be cured, then autistics should be provided every available resource. You hear people say early intervention, guys. Early intervention. Early intervention is very, very crucial. If you have an autistic kid and you're still hiding the kid in the room, please, sis, please, sir, please, ma'am, get that kid out there and get that kid early intervention. You do not want to have a kid. We hear of cases every time. The kid is 10, the kid is 15, the kid is 20, and parents are still hiding those kids in the house. Early intervention. Your kids are showing signs of ADHD. They're showing signs of autism. Early intervention. And early intervention in terms of helping them. Please know the difference, not in terms of changing them, because they are therapists and they are therapists. So please, as a parent, be aware. If I am accepting a therapy, I'm accepting a therapy that will help my kid. I do not want a therapy that will change my kid. Why? Because I do not want my kid to change. My kid is perfect the way my kid is. My kid needs help with certain things. So let's focus on those certain things. I want my kid to be themselves, to be able to live their lives, not having to hide, not having to mask. Because you know what happens is we raise this kid um teaching them how to mask, and then they grow up. What we don't understand is that we've achieved what we want them to achieve, right? They are not showing all those autistic signs and stuff, but what we don't know is that this thing is going to come meet us in future. What that my friend that I had talked about early, she came on to tell me how till date she's still fighting depression and anxiety. She There was even one time she confided in me that she was suicidal at some point because she just knew something was going on with her, but there was no explanation. Everyone knew something was going. There was no explanation. She just felt like sometimes she feel like she's possessed by evil spirit. Sometimes she just had all these things going on in her mind, but there was no explanation. It was until she found out that she was autistic that everything just, finally made sense to her. So please, parents, get those kids out of the room, get them out of the house, and provide them early intervention. In the US, there's so many. It's going to depend. It just varies from community to community. So research, Google. I know many people are like, so what is? I'm like, just Google, because it's going to vary from community. Make sure some of these things are even free. All you just need is a diagnosis. Get a diagnosis early if you feel like you have to. And if you feel like your kid will benefit from it, a speech therapy, so many therapies. There is, I know many people also benefit from occupational therapy, so many, so many out there, social skills, many people have come on the show to talk about, the kind of therapies they've engaged their kids in. You can go back to our videos and watch all of that and how it's been helpful for them. So please, please, and please, I want to encourage you to get those kids out and get them all the resource they need. If you feel like your kids are showing signs of autism, I've told you that autism cannot be cured. As a Christian, I believe in God. And I believe that God can do everything. But personally, this is what God has told me as regards autism. God has said to me, autism is not a disease. My kids being neurodivergent is not a disease. And so God had told me, my instruction to you is to love them, to accept them, to understand them, to cherish them, because I've made them in that likeness, in my own image, for their purpose. So just love them as they are. Because what I'm saying now, the Christian community, I mean, I'm not coming for anybody. I'm just saying what I've seen over and over and over and over again happen. I've seen parents would wait for years and years, even decades, and I know we're trusting God for a miracle, but I'm encouraging you. I know you did not hear this from God. I heard it from God, but I'm also encouraging you to please, in the meantime, seek out early intervention for your kids. Remember, God made the doctors, and many times is giving us these resources. Early intervention will go a long way. So get your kid out of the house, get them those help they need, because it's going to benefit them in the long run. And if God is telling you that there is a miracle coming your way, amen to that, because I believe God can do anything. He can do everything. He's my beginning, he's my end. And I'm sure he's probably that to you also. But I'm just saying that still get the help, okay? Trust God for what God has personally told you, but please get the help still. Get the help. Get all the resources. Just play your own part, okay? Do what you can do. And as you trust God for what he's told you is going to do. Okay, so in summary, what we have discussed today is autism cannot be cured. And many people believe autism can be cured because people have learned to mask, so we don't see it. We don't see the typical autistic traits. People have learned to, that facade, the picture I showed you earlier, people have learned to do that, so we don't see kids, with that autistic trait. Even adults, many adults I know are autistic, but they've learned to mask, they've learned to just, put that thing, and, they do all those other things hidden when no one is watching. The other reason why people think autism can be cured is eventually some people would outgrow certain autistic traits. And when that doesn't show anymore, we just believe like, the autism has been cured. And also, so if autism cannot be cured, then autism can be loved, should be accepted, autism should be understood, autistic should be given every available resource. And then I'm going to end on this final note. Um, Autism cannot be cured because autism is not a disease. The reason I made this topic is just because it's the question that has been asked over and over again. But autism is a neurotype. The way you're neurotypical is the way someone else is neurodivergent. It's not a dysfunction. People call it a dysfunction and a disability. I don't like to use that word because it connotes negative things sometimes. It's just a neurotype. It's a variation of the brain. It's how one's brain developed, how one's brain's wired. And so I don't think the cure is what we need. I think the love is what we need. I think the acceptance is what we need. I think the understanding is what we need. Because if we can start doing that, I'm telling you, it's just going to be more inclusive and a better world for all. I hope you all have learned one or two things today. I hope I've been able to communicate certain things that has been helpful to you. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to leave it in the comment section. I'll be going from time to time to check it and answer your question as much as I can. Please do not forget to subscribe. Please do subscribe. Many people say they'll do that in a little bit. No, don't. Just do it now. Subscribe and hit the like button. It helps us a lot. My name is Imo Folami, and this is the Neurodivergent Show. Next week is going to be very interesting because I have someone special coming next week, and we're going to go over neurodivergent. She being a neurodivergent mom also. Shout out to you. I know you can hear me right now. You know who you are, and I'm looking forward to having you next week. My name is Imo Folami, and until next week, 7 p.m., when next I come your way again, have yourselves a blessed Friday. Bye-bye.